woke because of love and because we want to make things better for all of us. Because what we project for the rest of those who are less sleep, we project for ourselves. So even love, in a way, while selfless, is also selfish. So if you love others as you love yourself, it's because we all are one. And so when you look at even the closeout of the Quran, it says what? This is the uniting of Allah. This is the uniting of the Holy Quran of Mecca. But the Holy Quran is not just the book. The Holy Quran is the reading, the knowledge. It is the collective. Even that's a metaphor, you see. It is the whole of things, actually. And this is again why a lot of times we will, so that people will take a less spooky view or not a view that's loaded with biases. We would always tell them, if you want to have really concepts of it, study cosmology, study Kabbalion, which is derived from Sabbath culture, directly derived from Gnostic philosophy, because that's what it really is.
Okay, here's an interesting question. What is the link of summer solstice to Father's Day? If it
Well, now you would be talking, that would be anthropomorphic in its angle, talking about the sun. And so the sun is also the father. So you're really talking about mother, governed by the moon, who's the gateway, who brings the physical body. And you're talking about the projective energies of the sun. And this is like when you're looking at cosmology, they will give the sun what you would call a masculine energy or projection, just like you have, although all things in nature have masculine and feminine energy. And so the sun is symbolically as he. This is why the sun, or the great sun, is referred to as he, and the moon is referred to as she. Is given a gender. So even when you look in your Hermetic law, you're dealing with the law of gender. So you're talking about the projection and the positive and the negative, the projective and the recessive, the receiving and the giving, etc. The balance, the yin and the yang. That's all that means. And so when you're dealing with the energy of the summer solstice, the sun coming in or being at the part of the earth where it is most active, then that, of course, deals with Ptah, Peter or father. That's what it means. That's all. It's only a metaphorical angle on the workings of nature. Back to cosmology. And of course, those of you who know, when you look at even the word cosmo and cosmology, cosmos means universe. So who is Allah? Allah is the follower of the universe. Allah is the follower of the universe. We know that Allah is a feminine name. So you're dealing with projection and energy and gestation and projection. So you're looking at the workings of nature. And so you have the crescent and the star, which is also called the cosmos. You see how the storyline is? And so when people look at it just from an anthropomorphic, they're not looking necessarily as the cosmological nature or the Ephemerides's angle. And people need to know about both of them so they can look at it more maturely and more responsibly, and comprehend that for children, we'll show them, a brother on a camel, which means a ship of the desert. And then you'll see a pyramid in the background, and then you'll see the crescent and the star in the sky, and they'll say, "Oh, the Star of Bethlehem," etc. So, but adult will look at a chart and look at the angles of the different planets, and also from a bishop point of view, the positions of the different planets in aid or support of the different constellations at certain cycles of time. So there you got your bishops. And there you have what? Your cardinal points. So your cardinal in the great circle, because church means circle. So the great cardinals would be at your primal nodal points, your north node, south node, east and west. There you go. And so you take it out of its anthropomorphic, which is for children, take it into its cosmological, and now you're grown up. Now, you talk about Santa Claus, but you already know Santa Claus is the Big Dipper. It's like that. You don't you take it seriously, not serious, really. And of course, intelligently, you guide your life according to those energies. The same way, like, say, for instance, like, because I'm very hot-blooded, right? So, but I actually never liked, like skin out type stuff like that, except when I want to get some sun, get some vitamin D. And so, if I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt, stuff like that, I'll get really hot. In the same way, I wouldn't think about wearing a long sleeve shirt and a coat and putting on a wool scarf and putting on, a pulley. Now in this weather, same way I wouldn't do the opposite like this in the winter. So you look at it like that. Let's keep it simple. Study the workings of nature. Look at it put in an anthropomorphical story for children. Then look in the calculations of the energy outputs, the waves, the ups and the downs of what you call the cosmic waves, and a mathematical ephemerides calculation of that for the purpose of agriculture, for feeding, for the purpose of traveling, dealing with the weather systems, the exposure of certain elements and food stocks around the planet in different time zones or locale zones, in different nodal points, in different life forms that may grow either in acidic soils or alkaline soils based on the operations of the elements in nature. There is religion. That would be in ephemerides form. So when you're looking at the Bible, the Quran, the different holy books, the Torah, etc., the Uaspi, the different books. Also, remember, all of them have a cosmological construct. And and this is really interesting, when you already know that the priest can't play you anymore. And this is why they really get upset when we share this information with people, because it kills all their clubisms. It kills all of their Jesus funding that they've been spending with Birth for Butt at the Bahamas every year. See, and this goes for all of them, not some of them, all of them. Because once you recognize, like they say, God's everywhere, and he makes all your sandwiches, and he loves everybody. Give you a peanut butter sandwich, And when you really understand that we come together in organized bodies, politics, because we're social beings. But the reality, you don't need to go someplace to find Allah. Duh. First, you come through a womb. Duh. And then you on earth. Duh. Then the air is here. It's everywhere. However, because we're social beings and we construct organizations and clubs and institutions for the purpose of supporting, our civilizations and preserving knowledge and stuff like that. However, don't let it become so big that it makes you forget the simplicities of life. And that's the truth. And what the priesthood has done is made people forget the simplicity of life and made their lives complex. And they've actually made the masses into serfs to serve them, using God, Jesus, Allah, whatever versions of their perceptions of what they call divine source, as a purpose, not really helping humanity, but actually to rape humanity. So we're not condemning people at all for being religious in the misconceptions that they have, but we're more concerned with liberating people from the misconceptions promoted by the priesthood behind the names of divine, etc., that actually have nothing to do with a lot of the corruption that the priesthood has created. And the fact that the masses keep losing should be your message. If you were so right, how come we keep losing?
Question. Thomas Marie said, is it true that presidents are chosen when they were younger and they knew years before Trump was president that he would be?
Well, Trump was requested, to be honest with you. If you want to look at Trump, if I would make an analysis of Donald Trump, I would look at his relationship to his father and his father's relationship to both Tesla and the takedown of Tesla by the Circle Church and Chancery members who run some of what you call your three-letter organizations of the Popes of Rome that have been operating in North America that you're familiar with. Look at that from that perspective. But Trump, on another level, was requested by generals and admirals who have been deposed under the, say, maybe all of the administrations operating of the praetors, all the praetor organizations, because remember, presidents are praetors, operating since Kennedy's assassination, were those who are still living. Many of those who are still living actually requested Trump to run. Trump didn't run on his own initiative. And there's a lot more that can be told. Some things are not said because the dark priesthood is still operative on many levels, including shutting down communications. That's being dealt with too. However, so Trump didn't come up and say, "Oh, I want to be president." He was requested. So keep that in mind. So Trump is a face for other faces that you do not see. However, if you use your intuitive mind, you can read all of them for the most part.
So, was that though a yes though in terms of the presidents in general?
Oh yes, and most of the praetors, who have been holding that praetor office, in some ways are related. You know, bloodline. That would include Hitler's daughter,
Merkel.
Yeah, Hitler's daughter who birthed Obama.
Oh, the other one.
Oh yeah, the other one. But it doesn't mean that some of them weren't trying to send messages or weren't trying to help, because some of them were. However, people need to understand that they are all praetors. They're all assigned. They're all prepared. They have one main, and they usually have a couple of backups in case of contingencies that were not necessarily calculated. But for the most part, all of them are put in place. And there's no such thing, and never has been anything in the nature of quote unquote free elections operating at North America. Never. Never, 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 never. This is another reason why the divine national movement is necessary, and also to help people start using their intuitive mind so that they can start governing their own lives and get rid of the demon operations that have been governing on not even beyond the U.S. corporation operations and the secret treaty of Verona and all of the other operations in Austria and Switzerland that have been going on in the name of country, when in fact their operations have always been dismantling nations, not helping nations. They've been going to and fro the earth, devouring nations. That's why they don't teach nationality. You hear in the Bible and the Quran, you hear always preachers talking about, and you know, God raised up nations, and he said, "This is my nation," and then there'll be nations against nations, but you won't see them teaching nationality, do you? Well, there's green people over here, and then the purple people over there, and then the light-skinned green, purple, orange, white. Doesn't matter what color you are, people. They've been playing a game on these people for so many generations that most of the people, their brains have been stagnated. And this is again why the illustrious prophet Noble set up the divine and national movement. He said religious and national movement. He said divine and national movement. He said learn the truth about your nationality and your birthrights. He said the half has not been told. If I told you everything, you go back to sleep. But guess what happens when you really start studying? We thought we've been had. Had is an understatement. And this is again why when you get into this information, what people choose to call more science is really the walk of humanity. That would be, to be more blunt, that would be more proper. It makes a lot of people angry. Why? Because the vampires have been living off the virtues of humanity for quite some time, and knowledge and enlightenment will end it. That's why people are upset. This is why they will go through all the trouble, pay trolls, do everything they can, try to block this information. And this is another reason why we always try to, while sharing, try to keep it down to earth with the people so they don't get caught up in this spookiness, like, oh, wow, this is really so deep. It's not deep. It's very, very simple. It's very simple. You've been had by the priesthood. Get over it. And don't get angry. Get wise.
Okay.
You find out that, I thought that was his dentures. No, he's a vampire. Duh. They like blood. Yes, they do. Literally, fiscally, metaphorically, and politically. They are vampires. Like for real, for real, for real.
Jakari Bill Bacaro asks, dumb diverses happened on 6/18/1493. Can you address that anniversary today? They said they would kill all the Saracens, and they are doing it too.
Of course, the Saracens is really another cover word for the Moors. What you see them doing, and this is why it's necessary for them to.
First of all, what was dumb diverses?
Dumb diverses is one of the major bullas of the Church of Rome, i.e., the Roman bulla. So you're dealing with Intercatera Divina, Dumb diverses, Romanus Pontifex, etc., Unum Sanctum, which is the major killer, as an example. And all of these are the major church bullas of Rome that have been used against the Asiatic nation, i.e., what you know as Africa and Asia, etc., which is also described not exactly correctly as allegedly the hybrid European hegemony, also tagged as white supremacy. All of these are for the most part, are both misnomers and misrepresentations. However, essentially, that is the operations of Unum Sanctum, which is a cover for all of them, including Dumb diverses, etc. So whether they're dealing with
like decrees or
yes, they are, because you got to remember, the Pope of Rome takes the place of all things that represent light, all things that represent justice. This is why he's referred to as the vicar, or the vicar, meaning that it's a substitute for justice, it's a substitute for light, it's a substitute for Jesus, it's a substitute for all the prophets, it's a substitute for God. Thus, he is God at Midgard. And therefore, they take the position that they own the souls and the lives, physical and the soul of man, etc. Another reason I went to chapter 1, so you can look at that, so you can look at some keys that the prophet left for us to battle back on, so that many of you don't give up the fight, etc. But understand, essentially, in layman's terms, the Pope and the Roman Curia members, being soldiers for the popes of Rome and the bishopric, claim to be God of this world, God of this earth, and therefore claiming to own both the bodies and the souls of men, which is why all marriage certificates and birth certificates are actually bank bonds, etc. That's why. It's not because those instruments just happen to be what they are. That's why they are what they are, because they have claimed the lives and the souls of men. This is the reason why the corporate states always operatively go into people's estates, etc., and steal all of their finance and then put the heirs in debt, etc. As an example, when you see people, and particularly people of Asiatic African descent, as they pass form or transform, you notice that our communities generally stay pretty poor. Is because the agents of the corporate state always steals their estates so that there's no inheritance. If there's an inheritance, they will put a feudal tax upon the heirs, so that the heirs not only don't have an estate, but they're so burdened with a tithe that they have to pay the corporate state, thinking that the corporate state is their government, and it's actually Roman Curia members, in order to enforce dum diversas. Because that's what that is. And because we're saying it, don't think that the Revs don't know this, and that includes every one of your marching, praying, civil rights leader guys, all of whom do some research, were 32 and 33 degree Masons, and in secret had a Moorish fez, pretending they don't know that these people are Moors, while collecting their kickbacks set up by Lyndon Baines Johnson, back to Trump an issue, that after they assassinated Kennedy, for trying to bring constitutional principles back to bear after the coup d'etat, because all this stuff is absolutely connected, And so when you see them, making these young sisters get diabetes, strokes, and everything, they go deal with the pharmaceuticals because they got a minor cold, or they hurt their knee or something like that, and they secretly sterilize them or give them viruses, etc. Yes, they do. That's what they've been doing. All of that is dum diversas. Tuskegee experiment, dum diversas. AIDS, dum diversas. Corona, dum diversas. That's what it is. Yes, you're correct. However, keep this in mind. As the people begin to see the light, or they begin to wake up to the energies of particularly being projected by Uranus, by the electrical energy of Uranus, pay attention to Uranus. I know we talk about Saturn. Yes, we do. Pay attention to Uranus. And keep in mind the electrical energy that Uranus is sending on this planet now. And if these demons can stand that electrical energy, more power to them. I doubt if they can stand it. The people will be waking up, not because we can aid, but we can't give, because it's all given from divine source anyway, that we call all universal law, Allah, etc. They're going to wake up anyway. Our mission of work is to try to make things a little bit more comfortable, that we need not see this suffering of humanity to the depths that it is. And much of it is because the people are just not aware. However, again, and I'm saying this again, the electrical charge that the planet that's coming from the planet Uranus, that's charging on this planet, everything and anyone, whether it's institution, whether it's being in the flesh, whether it's visitor from off-world, it pulls off all masks. No mask, no personality can hide anything anymore. So the wake up is both by help of those who would want to help, but it's also commanded by Uranus. That's part of Uranus's assignment. And I think a lot of times people are distracted by the other energies. Not that you shouldn't, I mean, not that you don't pay attention to them, but for those who would want to know a little bit more, pay attention to Uranus. Because I think because a lot of people are looking at the overall charts of people and the overall geographical charts and horoscopes that are made, not disrespecting or not that they're ignoring Uranus, but they're kind of overlooking at this projected energy that's coming from Uranus. And maybe that's kind of well because they're getting knocked upside the left side they ain't paid attention to because they're so very, you know, like it's sort of, you know, like it's sort of like in as an example in a game of sports. Although we know sports are generally put there to distract people, where you have a star player, he or she is a star player on the team doing something, and then they bring another star player in too, and while they're trying to block one, the other one hits them, and vice versa. This is what's happening with Uranus and Saturn relative to energy projection and cashing all D checks right now on the planet. So look at that from a metaphorical point of view, then look at the physicality and the manifestation of the civic activity that's taking place in the political platform. So sit back and watch the movie.
John Winbay says, what are your thoughts on North America having two countries, Canada and the United States? We have more than two.
Let's say this: when you really know what's going on, the United States is not a country. Never was. That's number one. From a political jurisdiction point of view, Canada, the corporation, and the U.S. corporation are actually one social political entity coming under the Circle Church and the Chancery, both being run by the Circle Church and Chancery and the Queen of England. Take that. See, once you're aware of things, I comprehend how people have different views based on what they've been told. But when you respect your intuitive mind and you do a little study, you see past there. That's why, you know, when you see things for what they really are, a lot of people, you know, get uncomfortable about that, but they're able to see that too if they want to. Most people don't want to see, and so they don't see because they don't want to see. But if you're talking about political jurisdictions, Canada and the U.S. corporation got the same international number. Take that as a key to what I'm saying to you. All of the front is a show to keep the masses busy while they get raped. Raped. Look up the word rape too while we're at it. Being preyed upon by the priesthood. That's P-R-E-Y.
Okay, question. What does Grand Sheik think about Nasera Jacera? How does it affect us as Moors?
This is part of the restoration. You can look at this as a reinitiation of some of the missionary work that was started by Abraham Lincoln, when he refused to take finance from the Pastor family, operatives, etc. That's a name that they're hiding behind. That's not who they are. Who took over the Yetta when they ran the Moors out of Iberia, which is now called Europe, and took over our wealth and our trade routes. And of course, those who know the history here at the Maghreb know that the American Constitution comes from Anansi Confederation, i.e. Moorish tribes. When you go look up the treaties, etc., with the Anansi, you will not see the word Indian. You'll see Moorish treaties. And of course, since they've been muddying all of that history and all of those documentations, So look back to the point of why even the Moorish divine national movement was set up, where duality referred to the Moors to enforce that constitution, because as soon as you do, you'll start going into this information and, of course, to the treaty law, and then you start recognizing, oh, these people are frauds. Not here, on all levels. It blow your mind how much fraud you discover. Now you recognize that you got a lot of responsibility, and half the people that you're talking to think you're out to lunch. But when you start disseminating the information as it comes out and people wake up, things will start getting dismantled, because remember, most of this stuff only lives because the people believe in it. So both the financial platforms, both the genealogical platforms, the political platforms, and the economic platforms are in a state of flux and change as we speak. So Canada comes under the Queen, controlled by the Circle Church and Chancery, which you will know here as the Bar Association. The U.S. corporation, which went bankrupt again. Keep in mind, the corporation of Canada is also bankrupt, so keep that in mind too. So this is another reason why they're doing all of this pokey-wokey stuff to the people, to keep the people distracted, because they don't want the people to figure out that as far as the U.S. corporation operatives of the Chancery is concerned, they robbed all the people's funds with the hedge funds. They robbed all the people's funds with the retirement funds. And this is why they're constantly printing more fiat and giving people what they call stimulus checks. These stimulus checks are to divert the people from coming for their necks. Not next, N-E-X-T, N-E-C-K-S. As this stuff unravels, etc., and the people become aware, logically the people are going to start seeking remedy or seeking ways to get some kind of remedy to preserve everyday living, all their rights and liberties. All of this would be called estate. But they haven't been told about estates or estate law or trust law. All of these things which involve everything to feed their family, their inheritance, everything, their heritability, all of these areas. And so these areas must be exposed to our people so they can become more competent, because while the people are awakening under the energy of Uranus and Saturn, these people are trying to kill them off for real, because they know that it's you or them now. Because when these people figure out the priesthood and the politicians are actually one body politic, and they thought they were separate, they thought it was God, they call it church and state. God over here of the Jesusness, of the love of the Lord, and over here, the politicians. And you find out that all of them were club members, and that they were all operative together, past and present, to rob you. And now that your carcass is pretty much dry, they've taken up all the blood out of the turnip, they want to kill you. All these pharmaceuticals and everything that they've been doing to create diseases, 90% of all diseases is not happening in nature. They were created in a lab. That's the truth. As these people figure this out, some of them are slow, but it'll be enough going after these people. Not only will they not be able to walk the street, they'll not be able to walk the water like they've been telling the people. So look at that as the politics. And that's not opinion, that's fact, and that's ongoing. However, the sooner the people start rejecting them, the sooner the people will be liberated. So your most of your remedy will come from you rejecting them, not accepting them, rejecting them.
So that's kind of that answers the question I was getting ready to share from Wayne Bay, which is how we stop these corporate ward states, or how, well, I guess they mean get them to release us from their hands.
Let's go back to the same principle. Let's go back to the principle. You have in personam jurisdiction, you have subject matter jurisdiction, you have territorial jurisdiction. That principle of rejection would involve, when you're talking Metaphorically, from the Bible, it would say things like, Satan has no power except what you give him. Politically, that transfers into that the corporate state, the dead, that the corporation corpse, the dead or the bleeder of the dead, the feeders have no jurisdictional powers except that we keep feeding them. So the great way of bringing remedy to getting out of the clutches of Rome is rejection of Rome. And so another thing why it's important for us to go across many of these aspects is so that the people will have some insight into what has been against them. One of the things that you recognize by the people not being aware how things operate, they didn't know that these people who have been taxing them is not government. They didn't know the distinction between a republic platform that is the legitimate platform for the trade operations at the Maghreb and the demon platform, which is called the democracy set up by the Ku Klux Klan, etc. They didn't know that this is a political jurisdictional fakery and fraud. They didn't know that these were actually the enemies in the gate. So you have generations of people being trained, paying taxes to a criminal organization of circle, church, and chancery members that they didn't even know exist. All they knew that was, oh, I'm gonna get a lawyer and an attorney. They didn't know that they were the Sadducees and the Pharisees that are talked about in the Bible. Those who've been governing you, and this is again why these so-called religious metaphors must be converted into the civic activities that have manifest on the planet. This is why we're taking a metaphysical analysis of chapter 1. That's why I've always every once in a while introduce that instead of metaphysical, metaphysics, because the people keep on thinking that Quran is not a metaphysical book. It absolutely is. They keep on looking at it like it's another religious sect. I understand that because of the training, but those who have eyes see beyond that. I just happen to see beyond that, and I'm just sharing it with you. That's all.
Another question.
And keep in mind, metaphysical those hermetic principles doesn't leave anyone out. It does not recognize, position. Oh, I'm Muslim. I'm Muslim. I'm Christian. I'm Jew. That divine law don't recognize none of that. To be honest with you, really doesn't. It's sort of like arguing. I went out in the sun today, and I saw some clouds come up, and it was going to rain. But because I'm Baptist, I don't need an umbrella. Well, it's fine. You get soggy like everybody else. Get over it. And the sooner we begin to come down to earth and recognize that we are all family, ultimately, and that we've been pretty much played and pit against each other by the priesthood, and start learning to love instead of hate, start doing unto others as you would have them do unto yourselves, you'd be surprised how quick most of the stuff will come right. Not overnight, next minute.
For more questions. Question. What about the Ba? Talking like the Ka and the Ba? I wonder.
The body and the creation of the body and the soul. Well, isn't that the chapter 1? Again, go to chapter 1, read it again. That's another reason I shared it. But it is to remove the mystery from all of these different perspectives of how we've been looking at what we've called philosophy and religion, and find that it has one source. It's just told in different language story forms, and we start thinking that we're different.
Time. Ava says, and you were mentioning Uranus said where Uranus is in the birth chart shows massive, unpredictable events.
Isn't that Uranus and Saturn at work?
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, go look at real quick. Go look at the operations of Uranus right now, and then share something with us. Send back something.
Do what?
And you'll see what I'm talking about.
What did you say?
Go look at a quick cosmological look at operations of Uranus right now.
Me?
No, the question from the question.
Oh, they were actually making a comment. They weren't asking.
You know, while you're answering other questions, that would, because it'll tell a lot.
Is there?
While you're doing, let me run real quick. I'll be right back. Entertain them with a question.
Okay, y'all. Grand Sheik has left us for a moment. Let me see. I can't entertain you with a question. Let me see if your questions. Direct Sun. We're in the age of Aquarius. How do we get that book? I just want to take a little commercial. Ask you all to go over when this broadcast is over and subscribe to my new channel on YouTube. Dr. G is official. We want to go live. We need 1,000 subscribers in order to do the lives over there. I'm just not the pre-production broadcast person, so we'll do live videos, but I need you all. If you're not subscribed at Dr. G is official, please do so, and tell somebody else too, because you want to see what's going to come up on that channel. Really appreciate you all doing that. And our Grand Sheik has returned, but
water. It's still hot.
You know, y'all, he could have asked me to go get him some water, but I guess he wanted to stretch his legs. So here we are. Let me see if there are any comments. It's hot up here, y'all. Let me see. Yeah. The link for the channel is so long. That's why if you just do a search, go to YouTube and look and put in, as you see there, Dr. DRGISOFFICAL. Dr. G is official. You'll find the channel. Subscribe if you hadn't. Very many thanks and gratitude to those of you who have already done so. Over 600, and to me that's like amazing since there's no content there. But we will be going live as soon as I get to that 1,000. We're going till temperature. You're right. I do need water. I'm dehydrated. I think I'm dehydrated.
Get the other bottle. Sip it.
Okay. Water.
I don't know about y'all, but it's warm up here.
Oh, it's kind of hot. Thank you so much, Jakari Vicaro. Thank you for subscribing. So just like he did, you can only need like 400, less than 400 of you. Just 800 plus on the chat. I know that all of you have not subscribed over there. Even if you're not going to come over there and listen, subscribe so I can start going live for the ones that will. So we need like 3 something, I believe. But appreciate you. So, hello, Thomas Day from Germany. I'm going to put the banner up right now. If you want to get the flash drive, it's scrolling across the bottom right now. Text USB to that number, and you will be sent the instructions for ordering. And you're going to have to supply a little information so we can get the shipping costs for Germany. Thank you very much. All right, let me see where we are. Thank you for all the subscribers. All right, it's 108. We think we're hot. It's 118 degrees in Arizona.
Oh wow! We thought we were catching it. You got a lot of vitamin D out there.
Oh my, 118. Texas, they said definitely hot in Texas. What is the MATD? What is the MATD? That's not Chief Nine Feathers, so I don't know what it stands for. MATD, where they do the travel. What is it? The travel card. You have to when you send an email to them, ask them to explain who they are. Hajibi Jahadi. They can tell you. I can't. They're just an advertiser. Is a hater. Yeah, okay. Yeah. We don't do that here. Let me see. We try. Okay, let's see. Investigate. Trying to get some. Here's okay. Michael McKell Wesley Bay. Wesley Lawrence Tunica L Bay. Operation Uranus was the code name of the Soviet Red Army 19 to 23 November 1942 strategic operation on the eastern front of the World War II, which led to the encirclement of the German Sixth Army, the Third, whatever that means, the Third.
Yeah, even when they do military operations, a lot of times, because remember, the culture on the planet is cosmology. So even when you see them use them, then look at the energy of, you look at the energy of Uranus, what it does. But particularly from a geographical analysis, some of you, who are presenting some of those questions, look at the operative energy of Uranus at this time, and you'll understand why over the last 20 years or so I've been emphasizing it, not neglecting the other angles of the charts, not at all.
I'm trying to think of the start. Of the planet that the sister called me, that's an astrologer, the elder sister, and explained to me about the star that's doing some stuff. It's planet, not a star. That they don't talk about. And if she's on the live, please. She knows who she is.
Well, she can share some.
I don't know if she's on the live because I don't know what whether she watches the live on you when we're on live.
This is one.
But I'm saying that she was saying that this is so significant because what it's doing, and that's what one of the things that they've done very well is to keep us from studying astrology.
This is why they've been promoting. It's what the priest jobs have been, particularly in targeted neighborhoods. People often don't recognize why is it and how is it that in your poorest neighborhoods, in the poorest of poor neighborhoods, they can afford to have a church on every other corner and stay open for all these decades that have been, because the people don't know that most of them are military operations. They're being funded, not just by the people who are naive to the operations, but militarily. Because it's a control mechanism. It is dumb diversus. People look at the owners of the U.S. corporations spending millions of notes for bombs, and don't think that they would send millions of notes for bombs for mind control in the communities of targeted communities. And so they'd be thinking that the Lord in heaven is funding all of these corner institutions where you have the bar across the liquor store across the street and the church on the other corner. That just happens to be locale circumstances. It's not locale circumstances. It's political design. And our people don't get it. You know, if our people just traveled in across the country in certain in other neighborhoods of other nationalities, you will never see that pattern. Never. It would not even be allowed. But our people don't pay attention to that. They're busy trying to survive, and they start thinking that that's what they have been calling "quote unquote" black culture. It is, but they don't know that that's a pejorative paradigm. That's not a pedigree bloodline. It's a political paradigm.
This is I pulled that up.
Let's share.
Is this yours or is this somebody? Did you just do the intro to it? A brief history. See, now if I read from this, then everybody's gonna want it. We don't have that. I like this, the fact that it talks about the fact that your life unfolds just as the sun unfolds in its cycle. There's so much, the patterns, you know, the patterns go, what do you call them, from a standpoint of the microcosm to the macrocosm.
That's the law of correspondence, as above, so below.
Absolutely.
So when you're looking at the metaphors of writing, you know, you'll recognize like say for instance if people are teaching children, you know, how do you keep the children's eyes on the heavens? You talk about the angels in heavens instead of the stars. You know, you'll say the lords in heaven instead of looking at the energies of the different planets. You pray to the heavens for an effect, so they're not looking at God in for what the word means, which means to call upon, to invoke, and to pour out. So they see the ritual of the libation. They don't understand that's an action. It's not a being, you know. But as a child, that comprehension is not altogether there. But when they become older, the preacher's supposed to tell them what that is, but they haven't. They've kept them in anthropomorphic grade and have been raping them. And my issue is the priests are the dark priests are going to get their due. They're going to reap what they've been sowing on this planet. They've been telling the people, oh, you're born in sin. You owe me all your sandwiches. Well, do you think you're going to enjoy all them sandwiches? You know, you're going to find some of these sandwiches got crazy glue on them.
I just want to bring up something. I recently was looking at something, and they were saying that they have disarmed, if you will, the moon. That the moon is not a natural phenomena, but that the moon, it's a satellite, but that it has been used as a mental sort of to control the people. So you know, they tell you it's the ebb and flow of the tide and so forth, but the moon itself has been utilized as a method, a way of
let's look at this,
controlling the people.
Let's look at this. We're not talking about the functional aspect of the moon. It's sort of like charging water with drowning people, and yet without it, you can't live. So let's not look at the tide operation of the moon, etc. Just like a lot of institutions, let's look at who's operating them. Who has, that you might say, a base there. And if the base is being dismantled, will the negative side still be operative? I doubt it. Just take that in consideration.
So you think we're going to see a difference in how people, I mean, it's just like if you didn't know all this time that you were being remotely controlled by something that had
like
been...
Biggie Small says, if you don't know, now you know. You know, don't catch a fade now.
Here's something we were talking about from Baro Ya Aqua Waba, and pardon me if I, butchered your appellation. Does the hybrid Euro am wanting to liberate themselves from Rome, reverting their estates here on American soil, claiming to be nationals, present a conflict of interest we should deal with now or later?
No, nature's deal. See, this is now we're going back to Uranus. Your answer again is Uranus.
Thank you.
Again, just to project again, with some of the things that I might say is really to pre-answer some of your questions. Because our time is limited. But as soon as you start looking up Uranus, you'll see what I'm saying. I've answered your question.
Okay. Well, we talk about, you and I have discussed the fact that, all the stuff that we watch that they do, even though it sounds great, we don't hear them correcting the fact or interjecting the fact that putting us in our rightful place and restoring our state. But so I'm wondering if the question that's being presented is, okay, so those wishing to do that, do we have to fight them?
No, you don't. See, this is the deal. If again, on Uranus again, they're going to be so busy. It's like. Let me put it another way. Someone is trying to keep your pineal gland and your medulla stem from activating, and by the nature of your development, the actual nature of your development, we're higher seeing, or what they call your third eye opens up. But the third eye still has to do with 7. That must be understood too. Because, let's see, 3 times 7 is 21. 2 and 1 is 3, still third eye. So they're trying to slow you down by blocking out the sun, aren't they? Even doing crisscross patterns now, trying to block out the sun. Let's see, since they raised so much hell here, or dug so much hell tunnels here, see if they can beat the sun. Oh, with Uranus also on their keisters. So if somebody's, is someone who's busy stealing from you and killing you on the streets and doing different things, and every time they lift up their left hand, lightning bolt hits them in the left cheek. How long do you think they're going to keep doing that? They're trying to block the sun to slow your brain down and to keep you in the lower dimension. And the sun, we've dragged behind the sun into a thinner atmosphere, and the sun is resting and getting ready to shoot out a large charge. Meanwhile, we're out of the photon belt, which you have less resistance, and so the sun's going to be whiter and hotter even while sleeping. Let me ask how many of you Asiatics need suntan lotion? Oh, the Ka and the Ba. How about Kaaba and the cube? Because it also means cube, not just the spirit and the body. And the position that they said there's Mecca in with the cube there, with the female cube covered up and stuff like that. That's the estimated place. That ain't really the place. It's not an insult. So some things that people thought they had covered, they ain't got covered. So it's sort of like this. The hunters being hunted and the robbers being robbed. Answer your own question. It's kind of hard for somebody breaking in your house when their house is being torn down. Don't mean they can't do some damage, but it's not going to be too much fun for them to continue this charade. Again, you watch Uranus.
Here's a question from KML. Yes. Peace, Dr. G, Grand Sheik. Dr. G, is there any guess, I guess, to teach a bit of the horoscope, explain the planets and movement? I mean, we certainly can get it, but I'm sitting here with this in front of me, which, with the
share some.
Well, interesting thing about this, this talks about the fact that the zodiac is broken up into 3 major areas: houses, planets, sun signs. The planets move through the 12 houses, giving off certain energies, which takes you back to the statement that the sun said, "In my Father's house." Remember, there are many mansions.
Yeah, many mansions.
Which he was
the
talking.
zodiac was also referred to in our culture metaphorically as the great mansion.
Right. So the planets move through 12 houses, give off certain energies. The 12 signs move through those same houses, and they channel the energy of the planets into certain traits or characteristics. The houses that the planets and signs are in determine which areas of life are affected by their influences. The most powerful influences are from, here that number goes, 7 planets, the 7 ruling powers. These 7 ruling planets are the sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. The sun gives you life and determines your character. The moon determines your emotional self. Mercury determines your mind or intellectual self. Venus, your love nature. Mars, your energy or actions. Jupiter unfolds your gifts. And Saturn disciplines you. There's a lot more, and perhaps we'll have somebody on who's specifically an astrologer that can.
But you can just read
I definitely will do that on Dr. G's official. But it says, here's one more thing I'll add. While the 7 ruling planets bestow their influences upon you, your individual self or body and personality is determined by your ascendant or your rising. This is a sign that is on the horizon at the time of one's birth.
Yep.
Hence, your ascendant or beginning of travel through the zodiac in the earth plane. Uranus, Neptune, Pluto are not left out. They are higher octaves of Mercury, Venus, and Mars, respectively. It seems that they give you a second chance to fine-tune yourself before Jupiter bestows your gifts. Lest Saturn will make you do it all again until you get it right. Right? Pluto deals the death blow only to regenerate. So there's more.
Yeah.
There's more, but we're not going to stay there.
And see, so the anthropomorphic is where you would give these energies personalities and powers, but that was for children. When you become mature and you become a man and woman, now the cosmological realities of the energies, or Ephemeraides, mathematical and energy output, and Hermetic rule output and philosophy of the Gnostic ones, is really the religion. There you go.
And Rashid Ansar, I just see your question, but I just answered it. You wanted to know what the 7 planets are. You got them. Just gave it to you. So,
and again, that's the culture. So when they say you keep the Sabbath, it's dealing with the culture, not just a knowledge of the 7 days. It's knowledge of the 7 planets and their energy output on the planet. This is why you even have your symbols of the 7 candlesticks, like in the book of Revelation. I heard one speak with a voice of many waters, and you stand among 7 golden candlesticks. You need to understand those candlesticks are presented as representative of those particular spheres or planets in this particular solar system that is part of the rulership, the energy output from the heavens.
Yeah.
And so your knowledge of that, or the knowledge of what Jesus really taught, this is again why the priesthood would never give the Moabite background of the one that they called Jesus, because his grandmother Ruth, the Moabitess, logically was a matriarch. And if you study the Moabite culture, you'd understand what those golden candlesticks are presented symbolically of. And yet people read it all the time and don't even know what they're looking at. Or the priest never tells them that 7 golden candlesticks represent the people of the sun and moon. The people with the hair like lamb's wool, that's also called Sufi. That means it's not a Muslim sect. It means the men with the hair like lamb's wool, which is the Sabian Moors. That's all it means.
Amir Elbay says cosmology and astrology are different. Yes.
Cosmology and astrology, yes. You can say yes and no. It's an expansion of the same philosophy. Truthfully. Astrology is just an aspect of cosmology. So when you look at the Hermetic law, you're looking at cosmology. You're looking at astrology, you're looking at cosmology.
Numerology.
So cosmology is simply a study of the cosmos, study of the universe. And so when you look at astrology, you're looking at the study of the belt, or the planets and the energies coming from the universe, etc., or dealing with the universe. So they're absolutely related. But astrology, logically, is an aspect of cosmology.